The late afternoon sun slanted through the towering glass walls of Caldwell Industries' executive suite, casting long, sharp shadows across the sleek mahogany desk in Nathan Caldwell's penthouse office. At 34, the white American CEO, with his pale skin and piercing blue eyes, commanded a global tech empire that stretched from Silicon Valley to Singapore. Yet the sprawling view of New York City below did little to warm the sterile chill that defined his world. Known as the Cold King among his employees, Nathan's reputation for ruthless precision and unyielding control preceded him. His tailored navy suit, crisp and immaculate, cost more than most people's monthly rent, and his neatly styled chestnut hair framed a face that was both striking and unapproachable. At 6'3", he carried power in every step, his presence silencing whispers in the hallways of his corporate fortress. Nathan stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, gazing down at the bustling streets below, his expression as unreadable as the steel-gray clouds gathering on the horizon. Perched on the 72nd floor, his office was a monument to his success. Polished surfaces, minimalist decor, and a quiet so profound it seemed to absorb sound itself. Yet success felt hollow, a truth he buried beneath layers of discipline and ambition. The world saw what he allowed, a man carved from ice, untouchable, unbreakable. But inside, a flicker of something restless stirred, unnamed and ignored. The soft chime of the intercom broke his reverie. Marcus, his 38-year-old black executive assistant, spoke with his usual calm efficiency. "Mr. Caldwell, your 4 p.m. appointment is here regarding the Baxter merger." Nathan didn't turn from the window. "Send them in," he said, his voice low and edged with the frost that had earned him his nickname. The door opened, and the sharp click of heels against the polished floor sliced through the silence. The rhythm was confident, deliberate, not the hesitant steps of someone intimidated by the Cold King's domain. Nathan turned, and his carefully constructed control wavered for the first time in years. Amara Wilson, 30, stood in the doorway, her rich brown skin glowing under the soft office lights, her dark eyes sharp with intelligence and a hint of defiance. Her shoulder-length braids were neatly styled, framing a face that radiated strength and grace. Dressed in a tailored emerald blazer and pencil skirt, she moved with the poise of someone who had fought for her place in rooms like this. A Howard University graduate with 5 years at a top consulting firm, Amara's reputation as a financial analyst was impeccable, her work ethic forged in the crucible of a world that often underestimated her as a black woman. "Mr. Caldwell," she said, her voice smooth and resonant, carrying a warmth that contrasted with the room's chill. "I'm here about the Baxter merger." Nathan gestured to the chair across his desk, studying her as she sat naturally. He said, "Ms. Wilson, I've heard of your work." His tone was measured but curious. "Your analysis is highly regarded." A faint smile curved her lips, both professional and subtly challenging. "As is yours, Mr. Caldwell. Though I suspect you already know that." She placed a sleek tablet on the desk, her movements precise, her manicured fingers tapping the screen to pull up a series of charts. "Shall we dive in? I've found something you need to see." Nathan remained standing, using his height to maintain authority, a tactic he'd mastered over years of boardroom battles. Amara, undeterred, met his gaze head-on. "There are inconsistencies in the Baxter financials." She began, her voice steady, as she pointed to a column of numbers. Discrepancies in the reported earnings, millions unaccounted for, likely funneled through offshore accounts. He stepped closer, ostensibly to review the data, but her presence, her subtle scent of citrus and cedarwood, sent an unfamiliar jolt through him. "Explain," he said, his voice lower than intended. Amara stood, closing the distance between them, her confidence unshaken. "These transactions," she said, "highlight a pattern that appears 3 days after every major acquisition. Someone's hiding money and it's deliberate. If we don't act, it could tank the merger and both our companies. Her passion for the work was palpable, her gestures animated, and her eyes aligned with purpose. Nathan felt a spark not just of professional respect but something deeper, something dangerous. "How long have you been digging into this?" he asked, studying the intensity in her expression. 3 weeks, she replied, turning to face him, their proximity electric. "I don't rest when something's off." The air between them hummed with unspoken tension. Nathan's gaze lingered on her, noting the determination in her jaw, the fire in her eyes. He stepped back abruptly, breaking the moment. "We'll need to work closely on this, Ms. Wilson." Her smile was knowing, almost teasing. "Can you handle that, Mr. Caldwell?" The challenge in her tone stirred something primal in him. "The question is, can you?" He countered, his voice betraying a hint of warmth. As Amara gathered her tablet, she paused at the door. "One more thing, Mr. Caldwell. The Cold King reputation I've faced worse. It doesn't scare me." The door closed behind her, leaving Nathan in an office that suddenly felt too warm. He loosened his tie, a rare gesture, and turned back to the city below, seeing not skyscrapers, but the spark in Amara's eyes. Marcus reappeared, a stack of reports in hand. "Sir, the board needs your input on the Tokyo expansion." "Cancel my afternoon," Nathan said, his mind still on Amara. "And Marcus, get me everything we have on the Baxter merger. Everything." As Marcus nodded and left, Nathan leaned against the cool glass of the window. One meeting with Amara Wilson and his carefully guarded world felt unsteady. He felt alive for the first time in years, and the thought thrilled him as much as it unsettled him. He pulled out his phone and typed a quick message to his private investigator. Full background on Amara Wilson. Now. The response was swift. Done when she joined the merger team. Clean. She is at the top of her class at Howard, has a stellar career, and has no red flags. Nathan deleted the message. Of course she was flawless. The universe wouldn't send anything less to challenge the Cold King. If you're as hooked on Nathan and Amara's story as I am, drop a comment below with your thoughts. Does the Cold King stand a chance against her fire? Hit that like button if you're rooting for them, and subscribe to catch every chapter of this unfolding drama. The city lights glittered like scattered diamonds across New York's skyline, their glow filtering through the glass walls of Nathan Caldwell's penthouse office. It was past 9 p.m., and the executive suite of Caldwell Industries was silent, save for the soft hum of the air conditioning and the occasional tap of Amara Wilson's fingers on her tablet. Papers and laptops littered Nathan's mahogany desk, a chaotic testament to their deep dive into the Baxter merger's financial discrepancies. The air was thick with the scent of coffee and the undercurrent of something unspoken, something electric. Nathan leaned over the desk. His navy tie loosened his sleeves, rolled up to reveal forearms taut with tension. He studied the spreadsheet Amara had pulled up, and her analysis showed a pattern of irregular transactions that screamed deliberate fraud. "These transfers," she said, her voice steady, but infused with urgency, "always spike 3 days. Post-acquisition funneled through a shell company in the Caymans. It's too precise to be accidental." Her finger traced a line of numbers, her braids brushing the tablet's edge as she leaned closer. He nodded, his focus split between the data and how her presence warmed the sterile room. "Someone skimming millions," he said, his voice low, almost a growl. "Who has access to these accounts?" Amara met his gaze, unflinching. "Only a handful of Baxter executives." "I'd start with Victor Baxter himself. He's got the motive and the means." Her confidence, her refusal to defer, stirred something in Nathan, a mix of admiration and a restless heat he hadn't felt in years. They worked in tandem, cross-referencing documents, their movements synchronized like a dance. As the hours ticked by, the office felt smaller, the space between them charged with unspoken tension. Nathan caught himself watching her, her brow furrowed in concentration. Her lips curved slightly when she uncovered a new lead. He straightened, trying to refocus. "You've been at this non-stop," he said. "When do you sleep?" Amara's smile was wry, her eyes glinting with mischief. "Sleep's overrated when there's a puzzle to solve. You don't strike me as the type to clock out at 5 either, Mr. Caldwell." Her tone was teasing, a challenge wrapped in warmth. Nathan's lips twitched a rare, almost smile. "Fair point, Ms. Wilson. But even puzzles need breaks. Dinner tomorrow night. We can discuss the next steps." Her expression shifted, a flicker of caution crossing her face. "Dinner? That's not exactly keeping things professional." She set her tablet down, her posture straightening as if bracing for a fight. "We're treading dangerous ground here. I've worked too hard to be seen as anything less than competent." Nathan stepped closer, his height casting a shadow over the desk. "I'm not questioning your competence. You're the best analyst I've ever met." His voice softened, betraying a vulnerability he hadn't meant to reveal. "But I can't pretend I don't feel something. Tell me you don't." Amara's breath caught her eyes, searching his. The office was silent, the city's hum a distant murmur. She stepped toward him, closing the gap, her citrus and cedarwood scent enveloping him. "I feel it," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I've seen what happens when lines blur in this world. My career's on the line, Nathan." The use of his first name, unguarded and intimate, sent a jolt through him. Before he could stop himself, he reached out his fingers, brushing her hand. The contact was electric, a spark that ignited something reckless. He leaned in, and she didn't pull away. Their lips met in a tentative and searing kiss, a collision of restraint and desire. Amara's hand rested on his chest, her touch grounding yet dizzying. She pulled back first, her breathing uneven, her eyes wide with conflict. She said this can't happen again, though." Her hand lingered on his shirt. "We're working on something bigger than us. The Baxter merger could ruin lives if we don't get this right." Nathan nodded, his jaw tight, fighting the urge to pull her back. "You're right," he said, the words tasting like ash. "We focus on the merger. But dinner? It's just dinner. A chance to strategize away from this office." He gestured to the sterile space, his voice softening. "I promise to keep it professional." Amara studied him, her expression unreadable. "Fine. Dinner. But only to discuss the investigation." She gathered her tablet, her movements brisk but deliberate. "Tomorrow at 7 p.m., I'll pick the place. Somewhere neutral." She paused at the door, her smile faint but knowing. "Don't be late, Cold King." As the door closed, Nathan sank into his chair, running a hand through his hair. The nickname thrown with her trademark confidence should have stung. Instead, it felt like a challenge he was dangerously eager to meet. He glanced at the city below, its lights no longer distant, but alive with possibility. Amara Wilson had walked into his office and cracked the facade he'd spent years building. The Cold King was faltering, and for the first time, he didn't care. He opened his laptop, pulling up the Baxter files, but his mind replayed the kiss, the warmth of her lips, the spark in her touch. Tomorrow's dinner loomed, a promise of strategy and something more. Nathan knew he was crossing a line, one that could jeopardize his empire and her career. But as he stared at the glowing skyline, he felt a truth settle in his bones. Some risks were worth taking. The neon glow of Harlem's 125th Street buzzed with life as Nathan Caldwell stepped out of his sleek black sedan, his cashmere sweater and jeans, a stark departure from the tailored suits that defined his corporate world. The evening air carried the scent of street food, spiced meat, and roasted corn, mingled with the distant pulse of jazz from a nearby club. Amara Wilson had chosen this place for their dinner, a small soul food restaurant called Mama's Kitchen, nestled between a barber shop and a boutique. The sign above the door faded, but proud promised, "Food that feeds the soul." And Nathan felt a flicker of curiosity tinged with unease as he entered her world. Amara waited at a corner table, her emerald blazer swapped for a cream sweater that hugged her frame, her braids loose and framing her face. She rose as he approached her, smile warm, but knowing, as if she sensed his unfamiliarity with this vibrant, unpolished setting. "Welcome to my turf, Mr. Caldwell," she said, her voice teasing but inviting. "Ready to trade boardrooms for something real?" Nathan slid into the booth across from her, his usual air of control softened by the casual setting. "I'm game, Ms. Wilson," he replied, his lips curving slightly. "Please, show me what I've been missing." The waitress, a woman with a gap-toothed grin, set down plates of fried catfish, collard greens, and cornbread, the steam carrying memories of Amara's childhood. As they ate, Amara shared stories of growing up in Harlem, raised by her mother Clara, a schoolteacher who worked nights to fund her daughter's dreams. "Mama used to bring me here after church," Amara said, breaking off a piece of cornbread. "She'd say food like this was love you could taste. It kept me grounded, reminded me where I came from, even when I was climbing corporate ladders." Nathan listened, his fork pausing as her words painted a world far removed from his own. His childhood spent in a sterile Connecticut mansion had been shaped by loss. His parents' death in a car accident when he was 16, leaving him to raise his younger sister Lily. "I don't have memories like that," he admitted, his voice quieter than usual. "After my parents were gone, it was just me and Lily. I built walls to keep us safe, focused on work to keep us afloat. I forgot what this feels like." He gestured to the bustling restaurant, the laughter, the warmth. Amara's eyes softened, but she didn't press. Instead, she reached across the table, her fingers brushing his. "You're here now," she said. "That's a start." After dinner, she led him to a jazz club down the street, its dimly lit interior alive with the soulful wail of a saxophone. The crowd was eclectic locals and vibrant Prince tourists tapping their feet, couples swaying to the rhythm. Amara moved easily, greeting the bartender by name and slipping into a booth near the stage. Nathan followed, feeling out of place, yet captivated by her effortless connection to this world. The music wrapped around them, a sultry melody that seemed to echo the tension between them. "You come here often?" he asked, leaning closer to be heard over the music. "Whenever I need to think," Amara replied, her gaze on the saxophonist. "This place was my escape during college when I was juggling scholarships and internships, proving I belonged in rooms where people assumed I didn't." Her voice carried a quiet strength, a reminder of the barriers she'd faced as a black woman in finance. "Jazz doesn't judge, it just speaks." Nathan watched her, the stage lights catching the curve of her cheek. "You're remarkable," he said, the words slipping out before he could stop them. "You fought for everything, and you still carry this light." She turned to him, her expression a mix of surprise and caution. "Careful, Nathan. You're sounding human." Her teasing broke the intensity, but her hand lingered on his arm, a silent acknowledgement of the moment. They stepped onto the dance floor as a slower tune began, Amara guiding him with a gentle nudge. "Don't tell me the cold king doesn't dance," she said, her smile challenging. Nathan, usually rigid in public, let her lead his hands, finding her waist as they swayed. Her warmth and rhythm felt like a lifeline to a part of himself he'd buried long ago. "I'm learning," he murmured, his breath warm against her ear. The song ended, but neither moved to break apart. Amara looked up at him, her eyes searching. "This us. It's complicated," she said softly. "I love my work, Nathan. I've fought to be taken seriously. Getting too close to you could undo that. He nodded, his grip tightening slightly. I know. And I know I'm risking everything I've built too. But you make me want to be more than the cold king. You make me want this. He gestured to the club, her, and the life she embodied. Amara stepped back, her expression conflicted, but soft. Let's take it one step at a time, she said. We've got a merger to unravel. That's enough for now. They left the club, the night air cool against their skin as they walked to his car. Nathan drove her home, the silence between them comfortable yet charged. At her apartment, she paused at the door, turning to him. Thanks for tonight, she said, for stepping into my world. Thank you, he replied, his voice rough with sincerity, for showing me there's more to life than my office. As she disappeared inside, Nathan leaned against his car, the city's pulse echoing his own. Amara Wilson was rewriting the rules of his carefully controlled world, and he was starting to crave the chaos. The Baxter merger loomed a puzzle they'd solve together, but tonight he'd glimpsed something bigger. A life beyond the glass walls, vibrant and real, and he wanted more. The morning sun streamed through the glass walls of Caldwell Industries' boardroom, casting a stark light on the polished oak table where Nathan Caldwell sat at the head, his posture rigid, but his mind restless. Whispers about his late-night work sessions with Amara Wilson had spread like wildfire through the company's sleek corridors, fueled by the Baxter merger's high stakes. The board, a mix of seasoned executives and wary investors, had called an emergency meeting, their agenda clear: question the investigation's integrity and Amara's role in it. Nathan adjusted his tie, his blue eyes scanning the room as the board members filed in. Margaret Hayes, a sharp-eyed veteran with silver hair, took her seat, her expression unreadable but heavy with authority. Marcus, Nathan's trusted assistant, hovered near the door, his tablet clutched tightly, a silent signal of the tension in the air. Nathan's thoughts drifted to Amara, who was preparing her presentation in her office down the hall. Her findings on the Baxter merger's financial discrepancies, millions siphoned through offshore accounts, were airtight. But the board's scrutiny wasn't just about numbers. It was personal. Marcus approached, his voice low. They're circling Nathan. Margaret got an anonymous tip about you and Amara. They're saying her work's compromised because of whatever happens between you two. His dark eyes held a mix of loyalty and concern, a reminder of the years he'd stood by Nathan through corporate battles and personal losses. Nathan's jaw tightened. They can question my choices, but not her competence. She's the best we've got. He stood, smoothing his suit jacket, and nodded toward the door. Bring her in. Amara entered, her emerald blazer crisp, her braids pulled into a sleek bun that accentuated the resolve in her expression. She carried a leather portfolio, her steps measured but confident, as if she sensed the room's hostility and refused to bow to it. Nathan met her gaze, offering a subtle nod of encouragement. She returned it with a faint smile, her presence grounding him despite the storm brewing. Margaret cleared her throat, her voice cutting through the murmurs. Ms. Wilson, your analysis of the Baxter merger has raised serious concerns, but so has your closeness with Mr. Caldwell. We need assurance that your findings are unbiased. Amara set her portfolio on the table, her movements deliberate. She said, my findings stand on their own, her voice steady and resonant. I've spent weeks tracing transactions through 3 continents. The Baxter family's offshore accounts are real, and the numbers don't lie. She opened her portfolio, spreading documents across the table: charts, emails, bank records. Here's the evidence: $12 million diverted through a Cayman shell company, linked directly to Victor Baxter's accounts. The board leaned forward, their skepticism wavering as Amara walked them through the data, her clarity commanding the room. Nathan watched, pride swelling in his chest, though he kept his expression neutral. She was brilliant, unyielding, and the board's doubts seemed to shrink with every word she spoke. Margaret's eyes narrowed. Impressive, Ms. Wilson. But your relationship with our CEO raises questions. How do we know this isn't a personal agenda? Nathan's hands clenched under the table, but Amara spoke before he could. With all due respect, Ms. Hayes, my work predates any personal connection. I've built my career on integrity fighting assumptions that I'm here for anything but my skills. Her voice held a quiet fire, a reminder of the barriers she'd faced in corporate America. If you doubt my findings, audit them. You'll find the same truth. The room fell silent, the weight of her words settling over the board. Nathan stood, his voice calm, but edged with steel. Ms. Wilson's analysis is the reason we're uncovering this fraud. My personal life is irrelevant. The Baxter merger threatens this company, and we're addressing it because of her work, not despite it. Margaret exchanged glances with the other board members, their murmurs softening. We'll review the evidence, she said finally. But the media will have questions about your involvement. This could impact our stock. Let it. Nathan said, his tone unwavering. We're exposing a fraud that could save thousands of jobs. That's what matters. He glanced at Amara, her eyes meeting his with gratitude and resolve. As the meeting adjourned, Amara lingered, gathering her documents. Nathan approached, his voice low. You were incredible in there. She sighed, her shoulders relaxing slightly. I had to be. You know how it looks, Nathan. A black woman in finance getting close to the CEO. They'll say I'm climbing the ladder the wrong way. Her voice was steady, but vulnerability flickered in her eyes, a glimpse of the weight she carried. He stepped closer, careful not to touch her in the boardroom's glass-walled space. You're not alone in this. We'll face the whispers together, and I'll make sure they know your work speaks for itself. Amara nodded, a small smile breaking through. Thanks. But we've got bigger problems. Victor Baxter won't sit quietly while we dismantle his empire. She handed him a new report, her finger tapping a highlighted line. There's a new transaction dated yesterday. They're still moving money. Nathan's eyes darkened as he scanned the page. Then we keep digging. Dinner tonight, my place. We'll strategize. He hesitated, then added, and we'll talk about us. No pressure, just clarity. She studied him, her expression softening. Okay, but I'm bringing dessert. You don't get to control everything. Cold King. Her teasing tone lightened the moment, and she left the room, her heels clicking with purpose. Nathan watched her go, the boardroom empty save for Marcus, who lingered with a knowing look. She's something else, Marcus said, a rare grin breaking through. But you're playing with fire, boss. I know, Nathan replied, his gaze still on the door. And I'm starting to like the burn. He turned to the window, the city sprawling below its chaos, mirroring the shift in his heart. Amara Wilson was unraveling his carefully controlled world, and the professional and personal stakes had never been higher. The scent of rosemary and roasted chicken filled Amara Wilson's childhood home in Brooklyn, a modest brownstone with creaky floors and walls adorned with family photos. Nathan Caldwell sat at the dining table, his usual tailored suit replaced by a navy sweater, his posture less rigid than in his corporate fortress. The warmth of the room, with its mismatched chairs and laughter echoing from the kitchen, felt foreign yet comforting. A stark contrast to the sterile penthouse office he ruled. Tonight, he was meeting Clara, Amara's mother, and his sister Lily, who had insisted on joining to vet the woman who had upended her brother's world. Amara emerged from the kitchen, balancing a tray of cornbread and collard greens, her braids tied back with a colorful scarf. Her warm smile tinged with nerves met Nathan's, and he felt a surge of reassurance. Clara followed, a petite woman with graying curls and sharp eyes that seemed to see through to Nathan's core. So you're the man keeping my daughter up late with merger nonsense, Clara said, her tone teasing but probing as she set a chicken platter on the table. Nathan stood offering a hand. "Nathan Caldwell, ma'am. It's an honor to meet you." Clara's grip was firm, her gaze assessing. "Sit, Nathan. Let's see if you're as impressive as Amara says." Her chestnut hair pulled into a messy bun. Lily grinned from across the table. She said, "He's not that impressive," winking at Amara. "I'm Lily, the sister who's kept him human all these years. You must be something special to get past his icy walls." Her playful tone carried a warmth that eased the room's tension, but Nathan shot her a mock glare. "Careful, Lily," he said, his voice light. "You'll scare her off." Amara laughed, her ease returning as she passed the cornbread. "Takes more than that to scare me. I've handled boardrooms tougher than this table." Her confidence, honed through years of proving herself in corporate spaces, shone through, and Nathan felt a quiet pride. Over dinner, Clara shared stories of Amara's childhood, her determination to master algebra at 10, her late nights studying for scholarships, her defiance against teachers who underestimated her. "Clara said she got that fire from me," her voice proud but soft. "I worked 2 jobs to keep her in books, but she made every sacrifice worth it." Amara's eyes glistened, and she squeezed her mother's hand. Nathan listened, captivated by the strength that ran through Amara's family. He thought of his past raising Lily after their parents' accident, burying grief in work, to build Caldwell Industries. "I know about sacrifices," he said, his voice quieter. "Lily was 12 when we lost our parents. I had to be a parent, brother, everything. It made me harder than I meant to be." Lily reached across the table, her hand brushing his. "You did well, Nate, but you forgot how to live for yourself. Until now." She turned to Amara, her smile genuine. "You're bringing him back, you know. I haven't seen him this alive in years." Amara's expression softened, her hand finding Nathan's under the table. "He's doing the same for me," she said, her voice low. "He sees me for who I am, not just what I've had to prove." Clara studied them, her sharp eyes softening. "Love's a beautiful thing, but it's not easy. You two with your high-flying careers and all this Baxter mess, you'll face talk. People will judge primarily when you work together." Her words carried the weight of experience, a warning rooted in her battles. Nathan nodded, his jaw tight. "I know. The board's already circling and the media won't be kind. But Amara's worth it. She's not just an employee. She's my partner in every sense." Amara's breath caught her fingers tightening around his. Clara raised an eyebrow, a faint smile breaking through. "Good answer, Nathan. Just make sure you keep that fire burning without burning her out." As dessert, Clara's famous peach cobbler was served. Lily pulled Amara aside, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "You've got him smiling, and that's a miracle. Mom and Dad would have loved you. They always wanted someone who could match his stubbornness." Amara laughed, but her eyes held gratitude, a silent bond forming. Later, as Nathan and Amara cleared the table, she bumped his shoulder playfully. "You survived Mama's Inquisition. Not bad for the cold king." He chuckled, drying a plate. "I had motivation. Your family. They're real. I've spent so long in boardrooms, I forgot what this feels like." His voice softened, vulnerability slipping through. "I want this with you, Amara, more nights like this." She paused, her eyes searching his. "I want that too. But we've got a fight ahead. Victor Baxter's not done, and the board's watching us. We need to be careful." Nathan set the plate down, turning to face her. "We'll handle it together. Whatever comes, I'm not letting you face it alone." He reached for her hand, his touch steady despite the storm brewing in his mind. As they left the brownstone, the cool night air wrapping around them, Nathan's phone buzzed with a message from Marcus. "New Baxter transaction flagged. Looks like Victor's doubling down." Amara read it over his shoulder, her expression hardening. "They're desperate," she said. "We need to move fast." Nathan nodded his hand, lingering on hers. "Tomorrow we dig deeper. Tonight, let's just be." They walked to his car, the city's hum a backdrop to their quiet connection. Amara's world had opened a door to a life Nathan hadn't known he craved, but the Baxter threat loomed a shadow over their fragile bond. For now, though, the warmth of her hand in his was enough. The morning headlines blazed across every financial news outlet, their bold letters screaming, "Baxter family fraud exposed Caldwell Industries, uncovers millions in offshore accounts." Nathan Caldwell stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse office, the New York skyline a gray blur under a stormy sky. His phone buzzed relentlessly, reporters, investors, board members, all demanding answers. Caldwell Industries stock had dipped 8% overnight, a bruise from the Baxter scandal's shockwaves. Nathan's jaw clenched, but his focus wasn't on the numbers. It was on Amara Wilson, who sat at his desk, her tablet glowing with the final report they'd sent to the SEC. Amara's braids were swept into a high bun, her navy blouse crisp despite the late hours she'd pulled. Her fingers flew across the tablet, cross-checking data with a precision that still awed Nathan. "The SEC's moving fast," she said, her voice steady but tired. "They've frozen the Baxter accounts, but the media's spinning this against us. They're calling me a disruptor with an agenda." She tapped a news article, its headline accusing her of fabricating evidence to climb the corporate ladder. Nathan turned, his blue eyes darkening. "They're wrong. You've saved this company from a disaster." He crossed to the desk, leaning against it close enough to catch her citrus and cedarwood scent. "This is Victor Baxter's last stand. He's desperate." Amara met his gaze, her expression a mix of resolve and frustration. Desperate and dangerous. Marcus found something. She nodded toward the door, where Marcus, Nathan's assistant, entered with a thick folder. His usual calm was edged with urgency, his cybersecurity background proving its worth. Marcus said Victor had hired a PR firm to smear Amara and had handed Nathan the folder. Leaked emails, doctored photos, even a fake whistleblower claiming she's a corporate spy. Nathan flipped through the documents, grainy images of him and Amara at Mama's kitchen, doctored bank records, suggesting she'd been paid to sabotage the merger. His hands tightened, crumpling the edges. He said, "They're targeting you to discredit the investigation," his voice low and furious. "This ends now." Amara stood, her posture unyielding. "It's not just about me. This is about thousands of employees whose pensions are tied to this merger. If we don't counter this, Caldwell Industries takes the hit." She paused, her eyes softening. "And I'm not letting my work, my name, be twisted. I've fought too complex for that." Nathan nodded, his anger tempered by her strength. "What's your plan?" "A transparency campaign," Amara said, pulling up a draft on her tablet. "We release key evidence to the public, redacted of course, showing the Baxter fraud press conferences, interviews, and social media. We control the narrative." Her voice carried the fire of someone who'd faced skepticism her entire career and refused to back down. "I've already drafted talking points. Marcus can verify the digital trails." Marcus nodded. "I've got logs proving the leaks came from Baxter's team. We can trace them to a server in Jersey." "Do it," Nathan said, his tone decisive. "And get our PR team on board. We go live tomorrow." He turned to Amara, his voice softening. "You're leading this. It's your strategy." Her lips curved, a spark of gratitude in her eyes. "You sure? The board won't like me front and center." "Let them complain," Nathan said, a rare grin breaking through. "You're the one they should be thanking." They worked late into the night, refining the campaign in Nathan's office. the city's lights a backdrop to their shared purpose. As Marcus left to coordinate with PR, Amara leaned back in her chair, rubbing her temples. This could backfire, she admitted. The media's already painting me as the ambitious black woman, cozying up to the CEO. If we push too hard, it'll fuel their story. Nathan moved behind her, his hands gently massaging her shoulders. Then we prove them wrong. Your work speaks louder than their lies. His touch was steady grounding, but the air between them hummed with unspoken tension. Amara tilted her head, her eyes meeting his, vulnerable yet fierce. She said quietly, that I've always had to be perfect to be seen as half as good. This campaign, it's not just about saving the company. It's about proving I belong here on my terms. You do, Nathan said, his voice rough with sincerity. And I'll stand with you every step. He hesitated, then added, I know this complicates things for us. If you need space to protect your career, I'll give it. Amara stood, closing the distance between them, her hand resting on his chest. I don't want space. I want you. But I need to do this my way. Her voice held a quiet strength, a promise to fight for her career and their connection. Nathan's hand covered hers, his thumb tracing her knuckles. Then we do it together your way. As she gathered her tablet, a new message buzzed on Nathan's phone, an anonymous threat. Back off the Baxter case, or Amara's reputation won't be the only thing ruined. Amara read it over his shoulder, her jaw tightening. They're scared, she said. Good. That means we're close. Nathan deleted the message, and his resolve is hardening. We end this, Amara. For the company, for you. They left the office together, the city's pulse echoing their determination. The Baxter fallout was shaking their world, but it was also forging them into a team, unshakable, unstoppable, and bound by something more substantial than corporate games. The phone's shrill ring cut through the quiet of Nathan Caldwell's penthouse at 3 a.m., jarring him awake. Beside him, Amara Wilson sat bolt upright, her braids spilling over her shoulders as she clutched her phone, her voice trembling. I'll be there as soon as possible. Keep her comfortable, she said, her words breaking with fear. Nathan's heart sank as he reached for her, his hand finding hers in the dark. What's wrong? He asked, his voice rough with sleep, but sharp with concern. Amara's eyes glistened, her composure unraveling. It's Mama. She had a heart attack. She's in the hospital in Atlanta. Her voice cracked, and tears spilled down her cheeks, a rare glimpse of vulnerability from the woman who'd faced boardrooms and media storms with unshakable strength. Amara's voice was barely above a whisper. She raised me alone after Dad died when I was 6. I worked 2 jobs, teaching by day and cleaning offices at night to pay for my books and college applications. She never complained, just kept going. She swallowed hard. She taught me to fight for my place, never to let anyone dim my light. If I lose her... Her words trailed off, choked by a sob. Nathan kissed her temple, his voice steady. You won't. Clara's strong like you. She'll fight. He tightened his hold, marveling at how Amara's vulnerability made her strength even more vivid. She's everything to you, isn't she? And to you now. Amara said, her eyes meeting his, raw with gratitude. You didn't have to come. Yes, I did, he said. You're my family too. The unguarded and authentic admission hung between them, deepening the quiet bond they shared. The jet landed in Atlanta as dawn painted the sky in soft pinks and golds. A waiting car sped them to the hospital where Clara lay in a private room, her graying curls stark against the white pillow. She looked frail but regal, her sharp eyes softening as Amara rushed to her side. My girl, Clara murmured, her voice weak but warm. You didn't need to fly across the country. Amara took her mother's hand, tears streaming down her face. I'm here, Mama. Always. Nathan hung back, giving them space, but Clara beckoned him closer. You must be Nathan, she said, her gaze piercing despite her condition. Dropping everything for my daughter tells me who you are. He took her hand, her grip surprisingly strong. I love her, ma'am. I'd do anything for her. Clara's smile was faint but approving. Good. She needs someone who sees her heart. The following hours were a blur of doctors and consultations. Nathan used his connections to secure Atlanta's top cardiologist, ensuring Clara had the best care. Amara paced the private waiting room as they waited during the surgery, her usual poise replaced by restless energy. Nathan caught her hand, pulling her to sit beside him. Talk to me, he said gently. Tell me about losing your dad. Amara's breath hitched, but she leaned into him. He was a jazz musician, always laughing, always dreaming big. Cancer took him fast. I was too young to understand, but Mama carried the weight for both of us. Her voice softened. What about you? Losing your parents. How did you keep going? Nathan's throat tightened, the memories raw. It was a car accident. Sudden, senseless. I was 16. Lily 12. I shut down, focused on raising her and building the company. It was easier than feeling. He traced patterns on her palm, his voice low, until you make me feel everything. Amara buried her face in his neck, her breath warm against his skin. I can't lose her, Nathan. You won't, he said, his voice fierce with conviction. She's a fighter like you. He held her through the long wait, ordering food they barely touched, handling business calls with one hand, while his other never left hers. Finally, the surgeon emerged, his face calm. The operation was successful. She's strong, your mother. She'll recover. Amara collapsed against Nathan, sobbing with relief, and he held her tightly, his own eyes wet with gratitude. As they sat by Clara's bedside later, her hand in Amara's, Nathan felt a shift. The cold king would have stayed in New York, prioritizing deals over people. But this Nathan, the one Amara had awakened, knew family was worth more than any empire. Thank you, Amara whispered, her voice thick with emotion, for being here. He kissed her forehead, his heart full. Always. With its beeping monitors and soft light, the hospital room felt like a sanctuary, a place where their bond grew stronger amid the crisis. But in the back of Nathan's mind, the Baxter threat lingered, a shadow waiting to test them further. The Brooklyn Botanic Garden glowed in the late afternoon sun, cherry blossom petals drifting like soft pink snow across the paths. Nathan Caldwell led Amara Wilson through the quiet grove, his hand steady in hers, his usual navy suit traded for a charcoal sweater that softened his sharp edges. The air was warm, scented with spring blooms, a stark contrast to the sterile boardrooms of Caldwell Industries. After weeks of battling the Baxter scandal and Clara's health crisis, Nathan needed this moment, a pause, a promise, a leap. Amara's cream dress swayed as she walked, her braids adorned with a delicate gold clip that caught the light. Her laughter rang out as she pointed to a cluster of flowers. Mama used to bring me here when I was a kid, she said, her voice light but wistful. I'd dream of running my firm someday, making a difference on my terms. Her eyes met Nathan's, a mix of ambition and vulnerability. Feels like a lifetime ago. Nathan's heart thudded, his plan crystallizing. He said, you're closer to that dream than you think, guiding her to a secluded bench beneath a cherry blossom tree, its branches heavy with blooms. He turned to face her, his blue eyes intense. Amara, I've been thinking about us, about everything you've changed. Her smile faltered, sensing the shift in his tone. Nathan, what's this about? He breathed, then knelt before her, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. Inside was his mother's sapphire ring, a deep blue stone reset with delicate diamonds. Marry me, he said, his voice steady but thick with emotion. You walked into my office and turned my world upside down. You showed me strength isn't about control, but trust, love, and standing together. I want to build a life with you, support your dreams, and face every challenge by your side. Amara's eyes widened, tears glistening as she clutched his hands. Nathan, her voice trembled, caught between joy and disbelief. I know it's fast. He continued, his thumbs brushing her wrists. But I've never been more certain. You see me not the CEO, not the cold king, but me. I want to share your world, your dreams, everything. Marry me, Amara. She pulled him to his feet, her hands framing his face, her tears falling freely. Yes, she whispered, her voice breaking. 1,000 times yes. Their kiss was electric, a promise sealed under the falling petals, her warmth melting the last of his defenses. Nathan slipped the ring onto her finger, its sapphire gleaming against her skin, symbolizing their united futures. As they walked back through the garden hand in hand, Amara's laughter mixed with tears. She said, Mama's going to lose it, glancing at the ring. She'll say we're moving too fast. Let her, Nathan said, grinning. We'll convince her together. The next day, they faced one final hurdle at Caldwell Industries. The boardroom was a sea of skeptical faces led by Margaret Hayes, who had called an emergency meeting to address the Baxter fallout and Nathan's relationship with Amara. Marcus stood by the door, his tablet ready with evidence to back their case. Nathan squeezed Amara's hand as they entered, propriety be damned. Margaret slid a folder across the table, her voice clipped. The media's frenzy over your engagement is a distraction, Mr. Caldwell. Some still question Ms. Wilson's role in the Baxter investigation, and some still question her objectivity. Amara stepped forward, her posture unyielding, her dress a deep burgundy that commanded attention. She said, My objectivity isn't the issue, and her voice was apparent and firm. The Baxter family defrauded investors for years. Here's the proof. She spread documents across the table. Bank records, emails, audit trails, all meticulously compiled. The SEC is acting on this. Pensions are safe, and Caldwell Industries is stronger for it. The board murmured, their skepticism fading as they reviewed the evidence. Nathan stood beside her, his shoulder brushing hers. He said Ms. Wilson's work saved this company, his tone leaving no room for argument. My personal life doesn't change facts. If you want to discuss my leadership, that is fine, but her integrity is non-negotiable. Margaret's eyes softened, a rare crack in her stern facade. Ms. Wilson, the board owes you an apology. Your work is exemplary. She turned to Nathan. And your engagement, while unconventional, hasn't compromised results. We propose a promotion, Ms. Wilson, to lead the merger team. Amara hesitated, her eyes flicking to Nathan. I'll accept, she said, but on my terms. I want autonomy to run the team my way, no strings attached to my relationship with Nathan. Her voice held the fire of someone who'd fought for her place and wouldn't compromise it. Margaret nodded. Agreed. Congratulations, Ms. Wilson. As they left the boardroom, Nathan pulled Amara into his private office, closing the door. You were magnificent, he said, his hands on her waist. You always are. She smiled, her fingers straightening his tie. You weren't bad yourself, standing up to them like that. Her voice softened. We're doing this, aren't we? Forever, he said, kissing her gently, the sapphire ring glinting between them. Outside, the city hummed, but in this moment their world was complete. A partnership forged in fire, ready for whatever came next. The Harlem Cultural Festival pulsed with life, its vibrant energy spilling across Marcus Garvey Park. Drummers beat out rhythms that echoed through the summer air, while vendors offered plates of jerk chicken and sweet potato pie, their aromas mingling with the scent of blooming flowers. Nathan Caldwell stood at the edge of the crowd, his linen shirt a stark contrast to the tailored suits of his corporate world, his hand clasped in Amara Wilson's. Who knew the Cold King could move like this? He laughed, pulling her close as the music slowed. You're a good teacher. All of this, it's incredible. He gestured to the festival, the drummers, the vibrant stalls, the families laughing together. I've been missing this my whole life. Amara's smile softened her hand resting on his chest. This is home for me. Growing up, festivals like this were where I felt free and could be myself without proving anything. Her voice grew quieter. I'm always on guard in corporate spaces, smiling through microaggressions, proving I belong. Here I just am. Nathan's jaw tightened, a flicker of anger at the thought of her facing those slights. I've seen it, he said, his voice low. The way some board members look at you and their assumptions. I'm sorry I didn't notice sooner. She squeezed his hand. You're noticing now. That's what matters. Her words were gentle but firm, a bridge between their worlds. Just make sure he's ready for all this. She gestured to the festival, a nod to the cultural depth he was entering. Nathan met Lena's gaze. I'm learning, he said, his tone earnest. And I'm all in. That evening, the tables turned as Amara joined Nathan at a charity gala in Manhattan, a glittering affair of chandeliers and power players. Her deep blue gown shimmered, but her poise outshone the room. Nathan watched her navigate the crowd, charming investors with wit while deftly sidestepping their patronizing comments. During a quiet moment, she leaned close, her voice low. This world's exhausting. All this posturing, these fake smiles. How do you stand it? Nathan's hand brushed hers, hidden by the tablecloth. I don't anymore. Not since you showed me something better. He paused, his voice softening. But I need to do better here too. Call out the biases, make this space fairer. For you, for Marcus, for everyone. Amara's eyes held his, a mix of pride and challenge. That's a start, but it's a long road, Nathan. People like me, we're constantly proving ourselves. I know, he said, his grip tightening. And I'm with you every step. Amara's head rested on his shoulder as they danced under the gala's golden lights, the music a soft counterpoint to their shared resolve. The festival's rhythms and the gala's elegance were worlds apart, but together they were weaving something new, a partnership honoring their roots. Yet in Nathan's mind, the Baxter threat lingered a shadow, waiting to test their newfound unity. The morning light filtered through the blinds of Nathan Caldwell's office, casting slatted shadows across the mahogany desk, where Amara Wilson sat, her tablet glowing with a troubling email. The Baxter scandal had quieted after their transparency campaign, but a new threat had surfaced, an anonymous leak accusing Amara of falsifying evidence to sabotage the merger. His voice held a quiet conviction, a promise forged in their shared battles. By noon, they stood at a podium in Caldwell Industries' conference room, cameras flashing as Amara addressed the press. Her burgundy dress was a bold contrast to the room's stark white, her voice clear and commanding. She said, the accusations against me are fabrications, holding up printed logs from Marcus. These emails are forged and traced to a disgruntled former employee working with Victor Baxter. The Baxter family's fraud is real, documented, and under SEC investigation. I stand by my work, and Caldwell Industries stands by the truth. Nathan stepped forward, his presence a silent anchor. He said Ms. Wilson's findings saved this company and its employees, his tone leaving no room for doubt. The Baxter scandal is a matter of public record. These attacks are a desperate attempt to distract from that truth. He met Amara's eyes, a flicker of pride passing between them. The press conference shifted the narrative, with outlets retracting the leaked story by evening. Amara's poise and Marcus's evidence silenced doubters, earning her praise as a rising star in finance. But as they returned to Nathan's office, Amara's shoulders slumped, the weight of the day settling in. She sank into a chair, rubbing her temples. "I'm tired, Nathan. Not just of this fight, but of always having to prove myself. If I marry you and stay in this world, will it always be like this? Will I lose who I am in your shadow?" Nathan knelt beside her, his hand cupping her cheek. "You'll never be in my shadow. You're my equal, my partner. If this world tries to dim you, I'll fight it with you." He paused, his voice raw. "I've considered stepping back and taking a lesser role at the company. I'd rather build a life with you than an empire without you." Amara's eyes widened, tears glistening. "You'd do that? Give up control for you?" "Yes," he said, his thumb brushing her tears. "I was the cold king once, obsessed with power. You showed me there's more, your world, your strength. I want us to build something together, whatever that looks like." She leaned into his touch, her voice soft. "I don't want you to give up everything. Promise we'll find a balance. I want my path and firm someday, but I want you with me. Always," he said, sealing the promise with a gentle kiss, their first in the office since their engagement. The city's lights twinkled outside, a reminder of the world waiting to judge them, but their bond was unshakable in this moment. As they left the office, Marcus handed them a new report. "Baxter's team is quiet for now," he said, "but they're not done. Stay sharp." Nathan knotted his arm around Amara. The fight wasn't over, but he felt ready for anything with her by his side. The Atlanta morning dawned bright, the sun casting golden rays over the historic Magnolia estate, its sprawling gardens, a perfect blend of southern charm and vibrant wildflowers. Nathan Caldwell stood at an outdoor altar, draped in ivy and kente cloth, his black tuxedo accented with a burgundy tie that echoed Amara Wilson's cultural heritage. The air hummed with anticipation, the soft rhythm of gospel music, mingling with classical strings, a testament to the union of their worlds. Guests, corporate leaders, Harlem friends, and Amara's extended family filled the rows, their chatter a warm undercurrent to the day's joy. Nathan's hands clasped tightly, his blue eyes scanning the path where Amara would soon appear. His sister Lily stood beside him, her smile radiant in a peach dress. "You're nervous," she whispered, nudging his arm. The cold king undone by love. He chuckled, the tension easing. Not undone and made whole. His heart raced, not with fear, but with certainty. This was the moment he'd been building toward since Amara entered his office. The gospel choir swelled, and Amara appeared on her mother Clara's arm, a vision, in a gown of ivory silk woven with intricate Ankara patterns, its train shimmering in the sunlight. Gold beads gleamed in her braids, framing a face alight with joy. Nathan's breath caught, his world narrowing to her. Regal in a flowing emerald dress, Clara kissed Amara's cheek before placing her hand in Nathan's, her eyes glistening with pride. "You're breathtaking," Nathan murmured, his voice thick with emotion, as he took her hands. Amara's smile was radiant, her eyes locking onto his. "You're not so bad yourself," she teased, her voice soft but steady. The officiant, a family friend from Amara's church, began the ceremony, weaving blessings from their traditions. Nathan and Amara had chosen to write their vows, words from the heart, to seal their journey. The crowd erupted in cheers, drums joining the applause in a vibrant celebration. The reception unfolded under a canopy of twinkling lights, tables laden with soul food and global cuisine, macaroni and cheese alongside braised short ribs, a nod to their blended worlds. Amara and Nathan moved through the crowd, her hand in his greeting guests from Harlem to Wall Street. Clara gave a heartfelt speech, her voice strong despite her recent recovery. "Love crosses boundaries," she said, raising a glass. "You two have built a bridge between worlds, and I'm proud to see it." As the band struck a soulful tune, Nathan led Amara to the dance floor, her gown swirling as they swayed. "Happy Mrs. Wilson Caldwell?" he asked, his forehead resting against hers. Deliriously, she replied, her arms around his neck. "However, I'm keeping Wilson professionally. Can't let them think I married my way to the top." Her teasing grin sparked laughter, but her eyes held a quiet strength. He spun her gently, his voice low. "No one who knows you would think that. You're the most brilliant person I know." The night deepened, and they stole a moment on a private terrace, the estate's gardens glowing under moonlight. Amara leaned into him, her voice soft. "This feels like a dream. We fought so much to get here, the board, the media, Baxter's schemes." Nathan kissed her temple, his arms tightening. "We won because of you, your courage, your heart. I'm the luckiest man alive." Their kiss was a promise, celebrating their triumph over every obstacle. As they returned to the party, Lily and Clara ambushed them with hugs, their laughter echoing. The music shifted to an upbeat Afrobeat, and Amara pulled Nathan back to the dance floor, teaching him steps amid cheers. The night was theirs, a fusion of cultures, a testament to love's power to transform. The Atlanta skyline shimmered under a late summer dawn, its glass towers reflecting the golden light as Nathan Caldwell and Amara Wilson stood on the balcony of their new home. A sleek condo, blending modern elegance with warm touches of Amara's heritage. Kente pillows framed Harlem art. A year had passed since their wedding, and their lives had woven into a tapestry of shared dreams. In a loose linen shirt, Nathan wrapped an arm around Amara, her silk robe patterned with vibrant swirls, her braids cascading freely. The city hummed below, a reminder of the world they'd conquered together. Amara leaned into him, her sapphire ring glinting as she sipped coffee. "Hard to believe it's been a year," she said, her voice soft with wonder. "From merger fights to this." She gestured to their home, their life a fusion of their worlds. Nathan kissed her temple, his voice warm. "Best year of my life. You changed everything." His fingers traced the curve of her shoulder, marveling at how she'd transformed him from a walled-off CEO to a man who lived for moments like this. Their journey hadn't been easy. After the Baxter scandal, Amara launched Wilson Strategies, her consulting firm, with Nathan as her first investor. The media had pounced, spinning tales of favoritism, but Amara's brilliance, her meticulous audits, her commanding presence in boardrooms, silenced critics. Nathan had stepped back from his CEO role, taking a strategic advisory position at Caldwell Industries, freeing him to support Amara's vision and start a philanthropy arm inspired by her community ties. Their partnership balanced ambition and love, each amplifying the other's strengths. Challenges lingered. A recent article questioned Amara's rapid rise, hinting at her marriage as a stepping stone. She'd faced it with her usual fire, publishing a rebuttal that detailed her firm's successes, securing contracts with major nonprofits, mentoring young Black women in finance. Nathan had stood by her, amplifying her voice and confronting his privilege to ensure her work shone. He'd told her, "You're unstoppable," and she'd laughed, "Only because you're with me." Today, they hosted a brunch for family, celebrating their first anniversary. Clara, fully recovered, arrived first, her emerald shawl vibrant against the morning light. She said, "You two make an older woman proud," hugging them tightly. Her stories of Amara's childhood filled the room with laughter, grounding them in love. Lily followed, her chestnut hair bouncing as she swept in with a gift, a framed photo of their wedding, Nathan and Amara dancing under Atlanta's stars. Marcus, now a partner in Amara's firm, joined with his wife Lena, their banter easing the group into a rhythm of shared memories. "You should have seen Nathan at the festival last year," Marcus teased, his grin wide, learning Afrobeat like he was born to it. Nathan chuckled, pulling Amara close. "I had a good teacher." The brunch table groaned with soul food and pastries. Clara's cornbread, Lena's peach cobbler, a nod to their blended traditions. As they ate, Amara shared plans for her firm's next venture, a pro bono project for Harlem schools. Nathan listened, pride swelling his hand, finding hers under the table. He added that we're also funding a scholarship, his voice steady for kids like Amara, who are dreamers, who deserve a chance. Clara raised her glass, her eyes glistening. "To love that builds, not breaks." The toast echoed a promise of their shared future. Later, as the others chatted, Amara pulled Nathan onto the balcony, her gaze on the city. "Sometimes I worry," she admitted, her voice low. "The world's still watching, waiting for us to falter. Can we keep this us strong?" Nathan turned her to face him, his hands cupping her face. "We've faced worse. Baxter, the board, the media. You taught me strength isn't control, it's trust, it's us. Whatever comes, we're stronger together." His kiss was gentle, a vow renewed, her warmth anchoring him. As the sun climbed higher, they rejoined their family, the laughter and love a shield against any storm. Their story, born in a tense office, had grown into something boundless, a love that bridged worlds, melted walls, and built a legacy. Poem in shadows. Deep where doubts reside, love's fire burns, a steadfast guide. Like roots through stone, your hearts entwine, crafting dreams where hope can shine. Each dawn renews the vows you keep, each night a promise soft and deep. Through trials faced, through joys embraced, your love's a light that time won't waste.